Oh, hello. It's 10 to 2 and we are live in my kitchen right above the dishwasher, which actually you can probably hear. Hi. I tried to do a live earlier on when I was walking up the hill and my connection kept dropping out, so I gave up as a busted flush. But I'm back because I've had a cup of tea and I've just had a meeting with a really lovely doula called Carol Uden, who I'm going to do some work with, and we are going to collaborate on some stuff which will be brilliant because she's really lovely and she and I were talking about the same stuff. There we go. It's a bit of a scary glare on my forehead. Better. Not better. That's better. There we go. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about change. It's been percolating in my head all week because I've had to flipping change all sorts of stuff in the last week. Whether like I've had to change small stuff like what I'm going to do because the snow had the kids off school, and because the kids were off school I couldn't do any work, and so I've had to manage that sort of change. And also I was thinking about what that means in my life and how much has changed for me in the last sort of 8 years since I started having the kids. And what that, and like how you manage that, how that is managed practically, because that is one of the factors of motherhood. You know, people, when you're pregnant, people will tell you, God, it's going to change your life. And it is going to change your life. It will change your life. You will be a different person when you're a mother than you were before. And some of that is practical because, you know, you can't just do what you want the moment that you want to do it. You have to start thinking about, you know, practically how to organise your life around this other person's needs and where they're going to be and all that sort of stuff. And it changes you emotionally. You know, the way that you think about the world shifts and changes and moves around, and it changes the dynamic in your relationship. You know, one of the things that I was just talking about with Carol was about mothers and fathers and their different experiences of parenting, and how you can square that circle. And that's been going on a little bit in the local kind of mums group as well. You know, how is it that you can start your parenting journey and your relationship is X, and then you kind of go down the line and it becomes Y, and it, you know, it marks all sorts of shifts. And that change can be hard to manage, whether it's big or small. And like the changes for me last week, the small changes that I had to make about whether I could work and whether I could run and how I was going to manage the house and the kids and all that kind of stuff, it requires an ability to manage your mindset and manage your expectations, which is something that we don't always learn. And it's a skill, you know, the skill to kind of recognise that you're going to have to make a shift, and how you're going to make that shift and how you're going to make it usefully in a way that works for you is something that you have to learn. You know, it just doesn't always come naturally. Some people are better at it than others. You know, some people are more accepting and more patient than others. I am not one of those people. I get really frustrated really quickly. And I have to really tune into my kind of rational thought processes to manage those changes positively. And actually it kind of worked for us last week. You know, I started off the week on Tuesday. I said to a friend of mine, I went through like this period of mourning on Tuesday where I was thinking, oh no, I'm not going to get any work done. Oh God, that dishwasher is making noise. I'm not going to get any work done, and I'm not going to be able to go for my run, and it's all going to be a nightmare. And I was really suffering from it. But actually using some of those skills that we teach as part of hypnobirthing courses about identifying what's important to you and identifying where the benefit is, you know, doing something different that feels uncomfortable almost always improves your experience of life and makes you a better person. You know, on a relatively small level, staying at home last week with the kids last week was a good step for me and the kids. You know, we ended the week in a better state than we started. we all benefited from it. But yeah, learning how to do that is not easy. And it is part of your mothering journey. You know, like the change that we talk about when you're pregnant are those changes to your body and the emotional changes that you go through. And also, on a practical level, you know, how you deal with changes on the day, you know, birth throws curveballs. It's not always straightforward. It's not always easy. It's not always what you think it's going to be. You know, sometimes, for some people, labours do not follow the path that we'd expected them to follow, and you have to be able to deal with that change as well. Being able to accept that change and to see the positive benefits in it is a big part of having a good birth experience. Because the good birth experience is not necessarily about how the baby comes out or where you give birth or whether you give birth with drugs or not drugs or in hospital or at home or whatever. It's about how you feel about how that went on the day. So being able to adapt to change is really important in your pregnancy and in your labour and your birth. But oh my God, it's important in your parenting journey as well. You know, so much of parenting, so much of mothering in particular is about adapting to change, and often those are changes that you don't have any control over. You know, if it's a change that you're controlling, if you make a choice to make a change, then, you know, that's an easier thing to do. But when you're having to adapt to changes that are a result of other people's behaviour or just, you know, life, the world and the universe, that's a harder job. But it is possible to develop these skills of just take a moment. Just take a moment is the first thing often, is to not just react in the moment and just take a moment. Think about the pros and the cons. You know, where are you going to go in this moment? Think about where the benefit is for you and what's right for you as an individual. And sometimes that's a shift. You know, I keep going back to last week and the snow last week, but, you know, I started on Tuesday last week with my head in work mode. And I had to make this massive shift from working me to mothering me. And once I'd kind of made that shift, like mentally accepted that that's what I was going to be last week, that the work wasn't going to get done and that I was going to just have to park it and be mothering me, then I was able to do that in a really, if I say so myself, a really effective way. And the kids really enjoyed it, and so did I. So I kind of just jumped on because change is one of those things that we talk about a lot. And it is a big factor in mothering. Like I say, it's not just about your labour and birth. You know, there are, you know, what the changes that you experience as a mother don't finish once you've had your baby. You know, mothering is a constantly evolving job where you're constantly dealing with the changes to you as an individual and accepting and managing other people's change too. So that's kind of all I had to say, really. I've whittled on for a bit. I am going to change my afternoon now, and instead of sitting down and doing a whole load of typety blog planning, I'm going to go for a run because the sun's shining and I can. And that's me taking control of my changes. Anyway, hope you're all well, and I will probably be back tomorrow with something else really interesting and insightful. Speak to you later. Bye.